All right, welcome to What About This, episode 6. Today we're talking about sports and morality. So we were thinking about it, and Kyle was watching the NFL draft a few weeks ago and noticed that one of the players that was drafted had an incident with his girlfriend where he assaulted her, and yet he was still allowed in the league. So we started asking the question, like, what is this thing where we're allowing these athletes to sort of act in a certain way, but we're still celebrating them for their achievements? So we covered a number of different topics about sort of double standards when it comes to celebrity and athletes, the value systems and sort of how they're unevenly applied. And then we sort of go into this about like tribal identity. What does sports mean for us? Why do we value it so much, and how does it impact our lives? Sports is fantasy, or sports is like this thing in this culture that we create these athletes we create for these athletes to sort of grow up in, and how we treat them forever, and then as soon as they step out of line, we sort of throw them out. And we start to get into sort of why these sorts of things matter for us, big picture, for our society, for the values that we tend to buy into, and what sports do for us, and how it's this sort of way for us to act out certain fantasies or act out certain realities, or certain things that we can sort of put ourselves into, and then what we should do, whether that's something we should continue to do, or what that means for how we understand the systems around us, the values systems and the power structures that we participate in. So I know it seems like a lot of deeper stuff for just a really somewhat superficial topic about sports, but stick around for this one. I think you'll all enjoy it. We really get into some interesting things. So so enjoy the episode, and yeah.
If you're tired of sifting through flea markets for rare and unique games, we can help. Retro City Games in Henderson, Nevada, only 5 minutes from the Las Vegas Strip, has all your favorite gaming staples, classics, and a wide selection of rare games with new stuff always appearing on our shelves. Come in and chat with Nicole or Doug about your love of games and watch as they help you complete your collection or find your childhood favorite. And don't forget, Retro City Games loves trade-ins. So if you have any Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega, Xbox, PlayStation, or even PC games, come in and visit Retro City Games today. Welcome to the new metropolis of gaming, Retro City Games.
So I was watching the NFL Combine. As you guys know, I'm a big NFL fan, right? Denver Broncos.
The Broncos.
Yeah. And they brought up this guy, running back from Oklahoma, Joe Mixon. And he was not invited to the Combine because 2.5 years prior, he had hit a woman so hard, broke bones in her face. You can watch the video. If you look for it, it's gnarly, just know. And I was listening to the commentators talk, and they were talking about, it's interesting that they didn't invite him to the Combine because of this, yet they're still letting him enter into the league. And so, on top of that, I was listening to Stephen A. Smith talk about it, and he put it in a great way. He said, the NFL did that, like, didn't invite him to the Combine because, like, they think that they're taking a stand, but, like, they're really not, because they're saying, like, that basically, like, so him not getting invited to the Combine is, like, punishment for what he did, but you can still play. And I think a big part of that is because, like, of how good he is too, and so I guess, and so that's an interesting thing, because then you have, like, Ray Rice, who, if you guys don't know, a couple years ago, there a video surfaced of him hitting a woman, and he got dismissed and has not and probably will not ever play in the league again. And yet here we have a guy doing the same thing, and yet is being allowed to now enter into the league. And so I'm wondering, like, is this... I feel torn, because I want to be a person who's like, yeah, so he's, if he's a different person now, and I like, second chances, but at the same time, like, people, I hear all these people that were like, he should be given a second chance. He shouldn't have this taken away from him. And I'm like, well, he's not like, the thing that they're having taken away is like, you don't get to play in the NFL, but like, it's not like you're like going to prison for life. And so I guess it's, you see this, like a situation like where the NFL dismisses one person, yet brings another person with the same case into.
So you bring up the fact that we're trying to take a stand by punishing you. You don't get to come to the combine, but you get to go to the NFL, which seems to me like you got your allowance, but you didn't have to do the chores.
Yeah.
Right. So why? And so you're trying to figure out, or we're trying to figure out, is how we look at athletes, how these double standards.
Right, yeah, and how there were so many people that were like, so a lot of GMs came out and said like, we're not going to draft him. Basically, like, that's, well, like, for nothing else, that's bad publicity. It wasn't because of his skills, he's an amazing running back. But like, and so then Cincinnati drafted him, and they've received a lot of backlash, and basically they talk about
they picked him up in the second round too.
Yeah,
that's a high draft pick.
So they kind of spent a lot on him. Right. And I think it just goes to show, I think this double standard comes in where, plain and simple, is that like you have the average Joe who becomes a pariah, and then you have like this athlete who becomes a bit of a pariah, but also like if you're talented enough at something, like we'll figure out how to look past it.
Well, and didn't you say, when we were talking about this before, didn't you say that some of the people that were like covering the draft were implying that him dropping to the second round was also part of his punishment, because he could have gone like top 2 or whatever it was, or like they were basically saying that?
Yeah, like it was not any sort of like implied punishment,
right.
But I think because it was a self-inflicted punishment, right. Because no team, and so that maybe that's kind of funny too, right. Is that no team could justify taking him in the first round because of what he did, right. Like, and so that's like, so as if that sort of punishment, like, sorry, right. You gotta wait a day, dude, you're gonna be a second rounder now.
Well, yeah. It seems like you're really attacking a set of values, like a value system, right. Within not just the NFL, because within the NFL there's obviously discrepancy, or there's right, so you have this value system that they don't even all agree on. They get to kind of set their own rules via the team. So the NFL doesn't even come down specifically on this as much as everyone kind of gets to choose how they do it. Who knows if they're all in discussion about it. Like I said, certain GMs just came out and said, we're not going to take this guy. Mm-hmm. And so you're really asking also is a matter of how we determine values, and then as society and as the NFL in and of itself, or all sports, or
yeah, and sometimes I feel like I'm going a lot of different directions with it in my mind. I think my big thing that I'm trying to figure out is,
why did that happen?
Yeah.
Why does Evan, or even why does Ray Rice not, or was it Ray Rice?
Yeah, Ray Rice.
Ray Rice is. And then why do we, for this guy, for that guy, is Ray Rice not as good as him? Mm-hmm. And so then what is that teaching us? Why is this being allowed? And why are we pretending that he didn't go first round, but he went second round? So that's good. He didn't get to go to the combine and get that exposure. And if you don't go first round, we can give you less money, therefore. And we're trying to kind of offset the right and wrong kind of deal, right? We're trying to say, hey, you did this wrong thing. We know you did, so we're going to punish you, sort of. But at the end of the day, our value system is that your talent trumps all other things, moral character, and so you kind of get into that, and you go, oh, okay, so what are we saying? And then also, is that a problem in entertainment?
Yeah.
Is that a problem when it comes to our kids watching this, us watching this? Right? What is Bill Burr has a funny thing, right? Comedian Bill Burr has this funny thing about role models as professional athletes, and how he went and watched a game, and people, how can you watch this? That guy hit his wife, and he goes, I don't drive home and I like influenced, and I'm gonna beat my wife. And so it's a little skit and whatnot, but there's something On the other side of that just goes, yeah, but we're just kind of catering to these guys because they're good at something. What are you telling everybody else?
Right.
What are you telling? And then what are we taking away from that? How are we ingesting that, if you will?
Yeah, and it's I guess as I'm thinking about it, it's more this. Why does he get to play? Because as I'm listening to different people, different sports analysts and things like that talk about it, they seem to have this theme of like, so he did it and he has publicly apologized, and you could see that from now on that like he has taken the proper steps to where he's not doing that anymore. And you're like, well, good. And they go, so he's not doing that anymore. So because he made that mistake, this is like the clincher. Like, so because he made that mistake, he doesn't get to earn a living now. And you're like, no, it's not. He's not.
He can go lay brick.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, he's not getting executed. Like it's simply the not this way. Like you don't get to earn it this way. Like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you guys?
Would your stance be? Do you think that he shouldn't be allowed in the NFL at all? Would your stance be he has to wait 2 years? Is this a matter of time? Is this a matter?
Yeah,
of
like how do we figure that out?
Somebody brought up something. It was a news station. As I was researching this, a news station in Orlando. This guy said, I'd been thinking about it. And he said, I think we should do something called the Ray Rice rule. And here's what I think it should be. And he said, if you are a offender of domestic violence and you get drafted, he said, here's what I think the rule should be. And I was like, it's very interesting. He said, you should have to redshirt your first year and dedicate that first year to working with domestic violence prevention groups. He said, you can work out with a team. And he said, but you don't get to play. You spend that year advocating for the prevention of domestic violence. And then you can reassess. Basically, it's like they're saying this, like
Rehabilitation.
Rehabilitation, and like instead of just like hey, I'm really sorry, they're like, no, like do something about it.
Good.
Don't. Part of this is interesting to me because obviously we're looking at this case with the domestic violence, and there's a couple of really prominent cases it's been in the last few years, but it's not like athletes behaving badly is a new phenomenon, right? I mean, it's this may be a more current trend in football, but I mean, we have the cocaine scandal in the baseball in the 80s, and we have literally you had the Portland Trail Blazers being nicknamed the Jail Blazers because of all the guys that were getting in trouble, so part of my thing is I see the double standard, but isn't part of it that we just don't see these guys as human?
Yeah.
Like that's part of it. So here's why I'm thinking that. Because if I went out and did this and it's on tape, I would be in jail.
Yeah, your employer would say,
it's not even that I don't get to make a living again. It's whether I get to walk on the street anymore or not. So it's interesting because it's not just the double standard like within the NFL. It's not just that NFL has a certain standard and they're sort of unevenly applying it. Because I think if we dug down deeper and drilled down deeper, we'd probably see guys in the NFL that they are not able to make a living for different reasons, different offenses or whatever, right? I mean, you have a few years ago, Pac-Man Jones basically gets kicked out of the league for drugs. Like, so it's like you can't, do drugs, but you can hit women.
But then you also have that within it. If I get into cocaine, if I start doing a lot of drugs, I don't think our employers would go, hey, no, we really got to get this guy back there. It seems that the question is, if you can help me make money, if you're gifted enough, because the question is it if you have this special, if you will, in society we have decided that is, but you have become, like you're saying, are they athletes or gods, right? And so you kind of go, if you have this godlike in our society that we've deemed godlike, whether it's beauty or athleticism or intellect, we will try to find a way to say that doesn't matter. And what we'll do, we'll get out there with PR, we'll put you in front, and even we'll put you through rehabilitation so that we can get what we want out of you because you're marketable. And because you see guys like, I was just watching a documentary, I think, about Dennis Rodman. and you have, and you keep going up and down on the list, and it just goes, what are we actually saying?
Right.
And I think collectively we don't care because we're a part of that whole group of people who go, people, when Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather had that fight, it was good versus evil, and
Right.
and what they didn't realize is how rotten of a person, quote unquote, Manny Pacquiao was too, and all
Right.
the scandal over here, and they're trying to go back and like, I can't stand that guy. Then you have Christians like, you're cheering for Floyd Mayweather, and I go, he's the best. Like,
Right.
and you go, I'm not cheering for him because of his moral compass.
Right.
And so even if we're being honest, we don't watch sports going like, hey, dude, I really like the Broncos because those guys serve the community. That's not why you guys watch the Broncos.
Right.
It's because of Peyton Manning,
And yet-
because you grew up a fan.
And yet, if you watch, this is so fascinating to me, if you watch a game, they work those commercials into that game
Yeah.
of, hey, check out what so-and-so did on Monday as he went and visited those kids or
Yeah.
played with them. And it's almost like this subconscious, like, hey, I want to help you be a part of this tribe and remember why
Right.
you're a part of this tribe, because if you are, then I'm making money off of you, right? And so it seems like it all comes back to this like groupthink kind of a deal, and I think that this issue plays directly into that. These GMs are going, okay, I'd say we bring them on.
Okay. So we're taking this are we taking this kind of this ridiculous godlike obsession with athletes, and we're trying to make it human to the masses, if you will, and going, no, this is good, this is human, when it's not human, because then they do backstories. I remember Chris Bosh got called out for actually not giving to the organization that he walked around campaigning for. I think it was Chris Bosh, some sort of cancer awareness, and he was called out, and they're like, actually, the records show you, and I'm trying to remember, but they did it on a bunch of different athletes. I think he was one of them. It was like, no comment. Interesting, because if you did, wouldn't you want to comment on that, man? Because they're calling you out something big. You're walking around, you're on television, you're on film, and that's interesting. You say the subconscious, right? And so you're going like this. The Denver Broncos are good. They're good, and I'm good. And I like the Denver. I'm a Bronco.
I'm right.
And you're like, they don't know you, man.
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, but how many times have you seen similar situations to this play out, and then there's a group of people that are like, oh, I would never support him, and then like they trade for him, and they're like, oh, well, he's not that bad. Like once he's on my team, like I can justify it, but if he's not on my team, he's the worst.
That's what I was just, and that's what I was just gonna say. I said I can wholeheartedly admit that I have this pushback. Yeah, I'd have to be honest. I'd have to be honest and say, like, if he got drafted by Denver and all of a sudden, he's putting up like 3 touchdowns a game.
Yeah.
Hey,
You're in a suit and tie campaign for him.
yeah. Hey, I forget about him pretty.
Time heals all wounds, man.
Yeah. Like,
You would even take Brady right now. You would take Brady right now. You can't say that.
No, I would totally take
You take.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny about that is that whole Brady. Everybody sits there, and whether they do, they love it. They like to talk about it, and Brady is the devil in their eyes. And I was around a bunch of junior highs, and they were like, I hate him. He's a liar and a cheater. And I go, you don't even like football, nor can you throw one. And I go, what are you talking about? And so I'm having this discussion with junior high kids, and I go, have you ever lied? Well, yeah. Have you ever stole or cheated on tests? Well, yeah. And I go, okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
Right. And then
Right. And so not only does the double standard exist within the league, but we're applying the double standard. Like they have, like, so Tom Brady's he's cheated. Maybe he's cheated to win. Okay. You've cheated on a test.
Don't say that.
But it's not the same thing, right? Like, oh no, but he's worse than I am.
Why?
I was just cheating on a test.
But why is he worse?
I don't know. I'm not saying I don't know.
No, I think no.
Yeah,
no.
but-
I think this is what we're getting to.
So is it because he won a football game?
It's
Like,
because
that's-
he won
Super
Super
Bowl?
Bowls, and he's, again, we put these guys on these pedestals,
Right.
and so but this is what I think we're saying is why we honestly as a society
Right.
think that it is different,
Right.
and we give them the hall pass, and they get to do. If it's favoritism, and it's
Right.
and there is no it's no secret that these guys get away with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's
with whatever.
Well, the big thing was it was because the reason why it was there, they said the reason why it was such a big deal is because they won. And they said nobody would have cared if they lost that game.
Exactly.
Right.
And so then we start telling these stories, and what you're saying, Keith, is why is it different for you? And it was interesting because, the junior hires aren't fully aware that they have hands, and so they're discovering like, oh my God, like, and in this moment they go, I'm Tom Brady, and I'm like, you're not that good. But it is. I think that's the thing is what is that? Why do we like Kyle saying is, hey, but like if he's putting up numbers, all of a sudden I like him, and does that just say something about who we are as humans, as people, as a society? Because we would be lying to say that we don't get we get ourselves off the hook. We justify things in our own lives on the daily, going like, well, you're not him, and you know what? Forgiveness is good. Right?
Yeah.
Like forgiveness for numbers is actually a good thing for me, but it's kind of bizarre because it's over what you're a fan. You don't benefit from it, and you kind of see, but it's this identity thing that Ryan brings up. He goes, but no, I am a Bronco.
So what's interesting about this, I think, is that we sort of are toying with this idea of like, are they athletes or gods? Well, here's the reality: we treat them like gods, and yet,
I think so.
And so. How are we expecting them to act like anything other than gods? Like, so like you've treated someone special almost their whole adult life, right? Mm-hmm. And then they turn around and do something that shows that they're not special, and they're like, well, forget them. Like, but
the media gets all over.
Right. So it's like, so Tom Brady was like, well, you wanted me to win. Like, you wanted me to be the best. That's what you expected of me. Mm-hmm. So I did it. Yes. And now you're saying that I shouldn't have done it. Like, so it's this weird, not only is, so the double standard isn't just like, there, but it's also in that like you're treating them in a certain way, and then when they act that way, like they think they're above the law.
Okay,
I mean, you think about it, like you read like ancient Greek mythology, gods are above the law. Like they're above human law.
Yeah. So they are all, in a sense, these Greek gods of today, right? What do they call it? Like the the iron grid, or what? Like referring to football, like the gridiron. Gridiron. There you go.
Do not watch football.
What's the throw ball one?
Yeah.
Well, here's the
We're talking about soccer, or
here's the interesting thing too. Like a little side note to this, within football specifically and domestic violence. There's a guy on the Seahawks named Cam Chancellor who puts it perfectly when he says they're basically asking like why do you like football so much, and he said, I can be somebody on the field that I cannot be in everyday life.
What do you mean?
Basically, he was talking about the violence of it. He's like getting to just lay somebody out. He said, I can't do that. And and so, but the funny thing is,
but maybe you can.
So the funny thing is that it is a little funny when we see like this guy who's just been bred and gets paid millions of dollars just to destroy people, and then all of a sudden like he tees off on someone in like a bar, and we go, no way.
That's
exactly.
That is the essence of it.
Especially football, like they've literally been trained to be violent. And how do you expect? I mean, I understand we should expect them, but like that's not an easy thing to just turn off. Like,
no.
Especially if this stuff happens, like if an incident happens in the hours before or after a game, because it's like you're still in that adrenaline high.
It's like 100,000 people were just screaming my name for how violent I was being. And then I went into the locker room and came out, and they expected me to completely turn it off.
Right. In 20 minutes. Because the press needs their clip it.
But that's another thing.
The clip to put on the TV.
Look at culture, because if you do look at, say, when you look at certain cultures of even like fighting, MMA, boxing, there's this conflict. I love boxing. I love watching boxing, but then I have this conflict. I'm like, should I like this?
Right.
Should I be an advocate for this? And then I have this like kind of war within, and I'm fascinated a little bit with the like MMA, because you're like, oh my, like how do you're subjecting yourself, like, but it looks just like a street brawl or like a bar fight, whereas in my head boxing's this sport, but then you're like, well, but so MMA's not a sport, you know what I mean? Like, but then you have these guys that Yeah, even good friends of mine who actually did it, and they're the nicest guys you ever meet, and they do jiu-jitsu and whatnot,
Right.
and so these guys are like, oh no, man, we just love the art, and they're the nicest, they're great husbands, they're great fathers, they're good dudes, and they're not looking for a fight. So is it a culture thing? Because you go in a football locker room and they're smashing each other's heads to get them pumped up to go smash. Heads,
Well,
and like I love football.
I would say too, and I'm just speculating, but from what you see and like the reports you hear over the years, it seems to like the guys who are like committing egregious domestic violence seem to be the minority. It seems to be that the majority of NFL players like are not going home and hitting their wives.
Yeah.
But this isn't just about domestic violence as much as these guys. I mean, if you want to start getting into morals and whatnot, you kind of go, okay, so the affairs, they come into a town, they got numbers for days of girls that they're going to be able to sleep with, and so wherever you land on the moral compass,
that seemed to be I'm sure
but that's celebrated.
Right, no, I'm saying that seems
in our
seems to be
society.
stigmatized with the NBA. I feel like
It's a little bit
than
more with the
anything.
NBA, or that from what I've heard. Yeah.
But it's interesting though is here's why is because you can there's actually you can't see the faces of NFL players.
Right.
You see this. NBA, you're right up against them. You can see them. You can see their bodies for the most. Well, I guess football players, right? They wear spandex now, so they always have. And so, but you don't kind of have this like connection to them like you do, and like right there. And so they seem a little bit more accessible. But then also, like you're saying, it's attached to that particular hockey players. Hockey players are not, hanging out with hip hop artists.
No.
Speaking of hockey, though, did you hear that story about Slava Voinov? It was like 3 years ago. He was on the LA Kings, went home, smashed his wife's face into a television screen. They kicked him out of the NHL, and then he was welcomed back home into Russia's hockey league like a national hero.
For hockey or
For hockey, yeah.
Oh, okay, not for smash. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he had faith of vodka.
what you're saying.
Like,
Sorry.
No repercussions though. They're like,
Right.
oh yes, we got our player back, and like, never mind the fact that
He obliterated his wife.
I just feel like that makes sense.
Yeah.
In Russia,
in
that
Russian
doesn't
culture,
surprise
like
me.
yeah.
Right.
Like I'm
Yeah.
not an expert on Russian culture,
But you've been there.
I have.
Yeah.
That
you
did
ate
not
there.
happen to me.
You didn't marry a Russian man and he didn't smash your head into a TV.
No, he didn't.
But
Oh, wait,
you know,
did
I
you
wanted to
marry
go
a
back
Russian
to Keith's point in we breed these, right? We say this is the most important thing, and we create these gods from the time that LeBron James is like playing against Michael Jordan in like fun pickup leagues when he's 16 years old, going bucket for bucket with him. You tell him he's the best, and he's like, and then you expect him to be a grown man with character. And he's like, I'm 18, and I just signed a $90 million contract. I get to do and have access to whatever I want. And I was, when you said that, I was thinking about cycling, and cycling when they started doping,
Right.
and they did a whole backstory on it, and it was like this: hey, like you win. And so everyone's doing it, and then when everyone's doing it, but you're like, okay, I'm trying to compete, and in our head we go, well, but we're all doing it, so now the playing field is kind of still even, but it's through doping, yet it's illegal, but we kind of go, we all look at each other and go, yeah, but I want to win because we have said the game isn't important. And my uncle said this sometime. He goes, you know what I learned? I said, because basketball's not fun, winning's fun. And I went, no, you're just a slave to winning. And we started talking about this. It's like, no, the game is fun. Yes, we compete to win.
Right.
But it's more so when you walk away, and if you don't win, you're nothing.
Right.
And so you have any means necessary. And like you said, the breathing, you tell them, you must. We need you to. Mm-hmm. You should, because you are the great. And that is the post interview. Like, well, how was your guys' season? He goes, so who was it? He goes, we lost. Yeah, I know, but like, the 18 of the weeks, like, we lost.
Right.
Next question. We lost. And so it's like, that becomes the driving force.
Yeah, there's this weird arbitrariness to it. Because again, we look at Brady, just to use him as an example, like, win the Super Bowl. And he's like, all right, I'll win the Super Bowl. And they're like, but don't win it that way. but it was only after the fact. And so it's like there's this great quote from Hemingway from A Farewell to Arms, and it's essentially, he says, he's talking about like death and how like strange and terrible the world is, and he says it's like they throw you into the game, they don't tell you the rules, but the first time they catch you off base, they shoot you. It's just like, wait a minute, being off base isn't against the rules, it's perfectly within the game, I'm just trying to steal the base, I'm trying to win. It's like, no, you're done. Like, we're just gonna kill you. It's like, that's kind of what it is. It's like, so it's only after that they've broken this arbitrary rule that you've established that they're like, well, that's it. Like, you're out. And they're like, wait a minute, what?
Not to mention, they have shown you that you can cheat. To get back in.
Exactly.
You can have an account, but depending on who you are and how that fits in our organization, because the Ray Rice rule doesn't apply to everybody, right? Quote unquote, if you will. You know, why is that guy kicked out? Why is was it Ricky Williams? Yeah, you know, there's that whole documentary and like
marijuana, right?
Yeah,
that was?
which is funny that you bring up Ricky Williams because Josh.
See, I know my football, the Iron Grid stuff.
because just 2 weeks, the NFL draft was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, where Mixon got picked up, and they're like, everybody just, we want to help him rehabilitate and things like that. Josh Gordon got suspended from the league a handful of times, a couple of times for non-violent. It was marijuana was why he got kicked out. He just got denied reinstatement into the league this week because they said that they're setting a standard and they're putting their foot down.
So now you even within their you go, okay, so break a woman's face. Look,
drop around.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, second round, man.
So get high
a few times.
And
in a society that is
video on it, right?
Yeah, but then what happened? He voluntarily took himself off the team.
Okay.
Because he was struggling and checked himself into rehab. It was not team issued. He said, "This is something I need to do." So took himself off.
So he self-identified.
Took himself off the team, and so
get him out.
And went to rehab. Went through rehab. And said hey, I just needed to do this. I just needed to get my life right. Applies for reinstatement, gets denied.
So literally, they're saying on one hand, we're gonna help rehabilitate this guy, and on the other hand, a guy literally checks into rehabilitation,
which
and
is
they're like,
real
no.
rehab.
Yeah, real. And they're like, no,
get him out.
You're done.
Well, because I guess there's because they.
So you say that isn't even within their value system.
Yeah.
It doesn't make
there's a number of chances you get.
Well, not only is there a number of chances you get, but there's a certain infraction that there's a certain threshold that they just don't care about, right? So it's like, I mean, maybe if Joe Mixon does this 3 or 4 more times, he's done. I mean, hopefully.
Yeah.
But clearly, it seems to me that the NFL isn't as interested in violent. Like, if someone's violent, that's fine. But if someone's a drug addict, they're like, you're out.
So you hear all the time people not liking the commissioner, Roger Goodell. And I think one of the biggest things that I've come to realize is one of the biggest reasons why people don't like him, I think, is because he is so inconsistent.
Yeah.
He's so inconsistent in his punishment that this gets you banned for life. This gets you uninvited to the combine, and this deflating balls gets you suspended 4 games. And then and then a little bit of this nothing happens.
Right.
And so I think that's why it's because all of a sudden the punishments come out and all the fans of that team and the player, everybody goes, what?
Well, yeah, because and not to mention, you go, the average person watching does not care what their athlete does because they care more about, as Seinfeld says, you're really just cheering for laundry. and he goes, it's kind of insane if you really think about it. I gotta admit, I'm a sports junkie. And I'm not a team guy, okay? I'm not that's my team. I've just never been that. I'm more of a player guy, and I love it. I watch it. I DVR it. It's something I look forward to. And we sit there and it's insane a little bit that we care, that we care, that you if your team loses a big game. It's almost as if you lost a member of your family, and it's kind of embarrassing. Like your demeanor, your disposition, there's a problem there. There's an absolute problem that you look like there was a funeral in my family when SC lost years ago. Who did they lose to? Is that Texas?
Yeah.
I was walking around and I was like, "Do you guys want me to start in on the eulogy or what?" Like, this is embarrassing that you guys care this much about a school you didn't even go to. You don't know anybody there. It's literally like you've adopted this mindset that it's important and it's not, yet it is, because sports are great.
Right.
But it's this, and here's, I think I was talking about this the other day. Someone told me that somebody commented back to them via social media, and it was someone of somewhat of status. And so we were having this discussion, I'm like, what? Why is there a little bit of like a, that felt good.
Yeah.
Like what? They're just human. We make these people, we had an opportunity almost to have lunch with Tim Keller, who is one of our favorite authors and preachers and speakers. And at the core, like, why did I want to go to lunch with him? I'm not going to hang out with him. He lives in New York. He doesn't care.
He doesn't really care about us.
He didn't care about us, but not like in a negative way. He just he didn't know us.
Right.
And the reason I want to go lunch with him really is because I was maybe going, I want to pick his brain. I want to hear what he has to say. Right? But even in myself, I have to admit, as much as I don't really give a rip about celebrities and fame, I'm very still fascinated by people. And in our culture, I think there's instead of appreciation, there's obsession. And so we go, that's a problem there.
Yeah.
Where you have a bunch of has-been coaches in high school who tell their students you're nothing if you don't want to go to the next level. Why do you even play the sport? Why do you do this?
And then so I went to some of my friends were playing a softball game, and I was going to meet up with them. So I got there halfway through the game to hang out with them afterwards. And I'm sitting there watching slow pitch softball, which is just riveting. And this 40-year-old guy doesn't like the call that the ump makes and just unleashes just all of this pent up aggression coming out, and this guy is yelling like it's Game 7 of the World Series. And I look at it and I'm like, this game means nothing, absolutely nothing. So where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Right? Where is this this all of a sudden, this game, what happens on this field in this intramural whatever softball game that counts nowhere and is not even going to be in the newspaper or anything, is now the most important thing in my life, such that I don't like the call that the ump made, and so I'm going to ruin this poor guy's day that's making $10 an hour out here trying to ump this game.
$20 a game.
Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah, you almost understand a professional athlete flipping out on an umpire because it's millions of dollars.
But that's insane.
Right.
And that's nothing Round Table Pizza can't fix.
Right?
Sure.
So where does that come from? Right? What has happened where we've gotten to a point where a grown man with a wife and kids is out pacing in the driveway because he's nervous about a game that he's not a part of? You know?
I think it's
the Niners are about to play. This is the biggest moment of my life.
Yeah.
No, it's not. This isn't you.
No, but they do. But so here's another thing: is what does ESPN do and SportsCenter, which is favorite networks. I love them. I watch them all the time. They tell stories and they tap in and they tell stories of these people who cry over the Cubs recently. They just did a whole documentary about this guy and his son, and he's like this. He's holding him. He's like, this is what it's about. And you're like, you're crying. You're crying. This is not okay that our city is better because Cleveland won a championship. He did so much for the city.
Yeah.
I feel like humans again because you won a championship.
It's interesting what's interesting. Sports goes. It's a really interesting history. So sports goes back to. And I feel like I go here all the time on this podcast, so I apologize.
I bet we're going to Greece.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Actually, we're to Troy. But so there's this there's a moment where and again in the Iliad, and I apologize for making this reference all the time, but Achilles, his basically his best friend, puts on his armor, goes out, gets killed. So they're like, all right, we're gonna pause the war for a minute, which is insane on the face of it, right? Not only does the Greeks want to, but the Trojans are like, yeah, your guy's dead. We'll wait.
That was the first time out ever called.
Yeah, right. And what they did, so they brought him back, and they were gonna bury him, or they don't bury him, they burn him, but they held funeral games, which is the start of the Olympics. So it's boxing, it's wrestling, it's javelin, racing, foot race, and a chariot race. So, but you think about it, what that really is, it's a funeral game. It's not sports. It's in that sense. But there's two things going on. One, it was helping them grieve. It was helping Achilles process the death of his best friend.
Okay.
Because he didn't participate. He only watched, and then he gave out prizes.
Okay.
And then second, it released the pressures of war. Yeah. So it was in a way, because all of those things that they did in the games were things they did in war. Boxing, wrestling, javelin, running, and chariots.
Wow.
Right. There's a few others I think, I think they threw it was basically it's modern shot put, but it was like they threw rocks and stuff like that.
They also did them naked, right?
Huh?
They also did them naked, right?
For the most part, yeah. Well, because it was either that or wear like lots of metal, and that's running in lots of metal is not going to work.
Now we just give medals.
Yeah. So this idea of like it was a way for them, because they literally had to pause the war, but then you have a bunch of like aggressive Greek men and they're like, well, we can't just not kill someone today. Like we have to do something. I've been killing people for 9 years. I'm killing people for 9 years. I can't just not. So they would do sport. They would do this, and it was a way to sort of release. And so I wonder if there's something in it today. It's like that's why the Broncos have to be the good guys. And when they play the New England Patriots, they have to be the bad guys.
But see,
right? Because
and
it's a way for us to say there is a moral battle going on, and I need my side to win.
Well, yeah, but so then and what I'm asking is I think we need sports.
Right.
In a sense, we need activity. We need to interact. We need recreation. However that works out. But my whole problem with it is we no longer appreciate it or even enjoy it.
Right.
Okay. In fact, working with high schoolers all the time, they're burned out by the time they're 17, 18, or they are so obsessed that when they get benched, when they don't get, when a college doesn't look at them, they're devastated to the point of of who they are. Their self-worth is trash. And so now we've all done that. We know this is if you play pickup basketball or you go play anything or whatever, is you go, I just almost lost it on that guy, or I did. I that was a part of what's going on inside, and it helps us get it out. But there's also this like, if I lose, I'm nothing. Right.
But I think it's because sports are like it's a surrogate. It's like a thing that we use. Here's why. Here's what else I'll go to the high school kid. So he gets benched and he's devastated and he just gets in a super deep funk, because if he doesn't get in the funk about baseball, he has to confront the realities of his sad life.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to do that, so he does it through baseball.
Well, yeah, because really what just came out in the elbow or the shove is really something deeper rooted. It's not because I'm not that good at basketball.
He can do it on a field. He can do it in a situation that's not real. So he can say, like, I put my aggression there, and I can go home and be normal.
Which is a whole other area. He's also trying to prove who he is right there, like his
here.
Toughness.
Because otherwise he has to prove it in a real way. Because if he doesn't, and people are afraid to say, like, if they fail at sports, it doesn't matter, so they can fail, and it has no consequence. Well, you get fired from a job,
that's real.
You're a real failure. You know what I mean? Like that's and whatever, maybe not.
Yeah,
but like,
I lost the pickup game, but I saw my job.
You get a divorce, that's a real failure. You're like, but it's like I lost a championship in baseball. I can live still. I think that's part of it.
But and I think what I'm also getting at is the obsession stifles we don't enjoy it anymore.
Right.
So you have guys, instead of playing baseball, they play softball. But now there's hardball leagues, but you see this gap, and all of a sudden they go, hey, I could go play for fun.
Right.
And so LeBron's in his early 30s.
Yeah.
And
I've known about him way too long for being 2 years older than me.
Yeah. Right? And so you kind of go, why aren't other 30-year-olds continuing to compete? Just on a local level, like on a what's it called? Like a city level. There's city leagues and whatnot. Why don't they continue? Is because they don't enjoy it. Like my uncle was saying, he goes, unless you're getting back to it. It's an identity thing.
Right.
And so even that is, we're even saying an identity thing. You're more than me.
Or they've
more than us.
Or they've figured out a way. And this has nothing to do with LeBron, because like obviously there's a system in place where like that is his real job, right? So if he fails, it is like a real failure for him.
Absolutely.
But or they've figured out a way that they've transferred that desire to succeed to another arena of their life. So the guy who's at the softball game, and I don't know him, but the guy who's at the softball game chewing out the ump has real failure in his life. And that's why the softball game matters. Mm-hmm. I think the four of us at this table, like, we've succeeded in other arenas. So if we go out and play a pickup game and we fail, like if we lose a pickup game, I don't think any of us are particularly upset because we can go home to our wives, we can go home to our roommates. No, we can go home to people that we love and that we can it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. But how long has that taken me? And
yeah,
still to
course.
this day, I'll have a bad Sunday night and I go, oh man, there's something wrong with you.
Right.
There's something wrong with you, and I think it's deeper, or it's I'm tired, but there's also this desire, like you're saying, to win, and it's an unhealthy desire. And I think I love so much of the game, whatever it is, whether you're playing tennis, playing basketball, they even have football leagues. But what is that even? What happens? All right, it's flag football, and guys are getting they're getting tackled.
Or touch football, and it turns into tackle.
Yeah, I think of what it is we think part of it too is it's this fallacy of how many people we think are watching. And like how many people we think care about about how we look when we win or lose. For example, so I went with Josh, by the way. We went to Brethren Christian High School, and for all intents and purposes, it was an arts school. Like it focused a lot more on like music and like creative arts and things like that. Did not focus much on sports. Our football team was one league above like basically the high school version of like intramurals. Like it was one league above, they called it like 9-man football. So it was like where like you don't wear pads. One league away from that. So, and I remember like watching the game and everybody would just go to the football games just to hang out. We didn't really care about like the football team.
You can't care about a game.
Yeah, and so like they would like, we'd play a team that was like pretty good and they would just get demolished. And it would be like playoffs that our players would come off the field like crying and I remember like being there with like everybody that was hanging out at the game, and like 99% of the students were like, "Yeah, we don't care." like it wasn't like we were gonna have a soccer tunnel ready for you if you won. Hey, we don't really care either way.
I like that you called it a soccer tunnel.
Yeah,
a football. It shows how much
they're doing the soccer tunnel.
So much they didn't care. They're just like, well, we'll do a soccer tunnel.
Red iron now.
Yeah. So, but I think that is a thing too. Is that you have these players that were like, all these people are here to see us.
We let them down.
Like, we let them down, and we're like, you couldn't. We don't like we don't care. And I think that's a big like part of it too. Is like that guy at the softball game had this in him that are like, these people in the stands, if they see me win, they're gonna think of me a certain way. Like,
but even that isn't that just projecting what's going on inside, like on everybody else. Going, he's not okay with him. Mm-hmm. He's not okay with him, and instead of like what Keith is saying, dealing with that, he's using that as a buffer for him not to deal with himself. Like, oh, we let you guys down. It's like, no, because the kid who there are athletes, there are people out there that go, oh no, it's okay. Like I lost, and then they won, and they don't attach it to themselves. And now we're kind of getting into like
it's a little
identity and whatnot. But even
different from our starting.
I think there's a guy who said we created Kanye.
Yeah. Everybody
wonders. Everyone goes, and there's this. We were talking about this the other day. There's so much genius in the song. What is it? I love Kanye. Mm-hmm. And he goes, he could.
Yeah, I miss the old Kanye.
Yeah, he can pull that off. He kind of like laughed at him and was like, "This is why I can do this. Is because I can do whatever I want because you guys have allowed me to do whatever I want, and then I mock you guys. I mock you guys in a song, and he goes, "Oh my God, I just wrote a song about what you guys." Mock me for it,
and I'm gonna make a lot of money.
But the joke's on you because you download it, you listen to it, you love it, because it's good.
And then that's the other thing we didn't even cover for the back to sort of the NFL and all that is, and value is that we sit here and we'll do an hour podcast on this, but the reality is, come football season, we'll also all go watch it.
Oh yeah.
And our money will go towards that.
Oh yeah.
So and I don't mean, I'm not saying like that's a bad thing, but to your point, we've created this system that is unfair inherently. because I would go back to your comment about Goodell. Goodell? Yeah.
Yeah, Roger Goodell.
I actually don't think he's being inconsistent. I just think his consistency is money. So he suspends Brady for only 4 games because Brady brings in a lot of money. He kicks Ray Rice out of the league because as much as popular as Ray Rice is and as good as he is, he's not Brady.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. The NFL really did not take much of a hit because of the Ray Rice situation. Because even though they mishandled it, and yeah, there are certain people that don't like it and they will never watch it, but they were on the fringe anyway. No core fan stopped watching because of Ray Rice.
Well, and even the Brady
But you would
scandal.
but you would get a ton of people to stop watching if Brady wasn't in the league anymore.
Right.
But,
so-
but also, it also, when you think about it, is the press that came with the scandal. Everybody wants to listen to it because
Right.
it doesn't matter. But
Right.
it just shows that we care about things that don't matter more than
Right.
we care about things that matter in our society.
And but you feel it when you watch it. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when Concussion, the Will Smith
Yeah.
Yeah.
movie came out, and then I went back and watched football, and there was a part of me watching going, this is like destroying these guys' brain. Like this is bad, and yet I really enjoy watching this.
But I think
You know?
because we're not saying it, and that's the deal. Even we talked about Kyle kind of brings up this the story of domestic violence, and then we start getting a value system. And you kind of go like, and you get back into this Greek. We're like, yeah, no, but like, I don't think we're even saying like competing is wrong.
Right.
I think there is some conflict where you're like, dude, these guys are destroying, and we're telling them, and then all of a sudden down the road they have these crazy migraines, they die early, something happens with their brain,
Right.
and we're going, dang, is this ethical?
Right.
Are we a part of this really? Yeah. But we do, like you said, we're gonna
I
go
mean,
back.
then I
I
keep
think
watching.
I mean I can fairly certainly answer. I'm like, yeah, it's a problem. No, it's not ethical, and yeah, we're part of it.
Yeah.
But we're not going to stop. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
just the truth of it. So
What they're doing is they're trying to the NFL. What they're doing is they're saying, so how do we keep playing football and find a solution?
Yeah.
Right.
The solution they've found thus far is, I think, to be honest, I think it's interesting.
Right.
Is they have unaffiliated team doctors that don't work for the
Right.
teams, that assess players on the sidelines. Like basically they're hired as like an outside contractor, and they assess players to determine whether or not they are displaying symptoms of a concussion.
Okay, so would you say then, because again, we're not even being negative towards the NFL as
Right.
much
No,
as
no.
we're asking these questions,
Sure.
or in all sport, because you could look at tennis, their brains are gonna be fine, and so
but their knees aren't.
right? You're like, I don't know, man. Federer's still doing it.
I know.
Federer's still doing it.
But there is a cost no matter what.
There
right?
is a cost, but and so you go physically, emotionally,
Right.
whatever. And so at the end of the day, though, there's still guys in their 60s and 80s running marathons. So whatever, and so you're really asking, so how and will they care more about humans than Roger Goodell and than the dollar?
Right.
Because you're saying his consistency, and that's genius. He is consistent based on his job is to make sure this entertainment business.
Right. Because he's a CEO.
Yeah.
He's not a.
No,
He doesn't care about the. And I don't mean like maybe on a personal level he does, but his job isn't to care. His literal job description is not to care about the individual, it's to care about the league.
Yes, and so he's
The
in
business.
this kind of spot. So you're saying, hey, they probably should have a board that goes, no, that's unethical. Let's have your doctor say, hey man, that's one too many concussions. I don't care if you're Brady.
Right.
Is that right? Like we need
Right.
And so now they've put in place where that will happen. Is that if Brady gets hit so hard that he gets a concussion, a doctor will say he may not play anymore
He's out
until
that doctor or another unaffiliated doctor says he can't.
yeah.
But so who's monitoring these guys? Who is actually got it? Okay.
Right. And so
Because before it was team doctors,
but-
they were in the team was paying the doctor but like, so your employer says, hey, here's your salary. We need this guy in the field. Tell him he's okay.
Well, think about it. You guys
Right.
get injured and they walk out, and especially as someone who loves sports and it's a pickup game and my ankle's busted, I'm like, I'm gonna get out there, because you just desire to compete,
Right.
especially as a competitor. And whether it's ping pong or whatever it is,
Right.
like you want to compete as a competitor. So they go back in the locker room, they get a little treatment, they get a shot so they can't feel it.
Right.
They do these things.
There's that scene. Have you guys both seen Any Given Sunday?
Yes.
That's remember the doctors, like, there's the one doctor, there's like the team doctor who's been there for years. There's a newer guy that comes in, and like the team doctor basically is telling the newer one or whatever. It's like, your medical opinion doesn't matter. Essentially, it's like, don't do it based on medicine. Do it based on getting them back out on the field.
Yeah. And so the interesting thing is we talk about the domestic violence and then the within the NFL, and then you've got like the infidelity within like the NBA, and then like the drugs within baseball and other things. But then it's interesting, you can even go to, if we're looking at moral situations and how we let people slide and like what we see as okay and not okay, even go to something as boring as golf.
Yeah.
Hey, how many Christian men, and I'm just saying Christian men because they're, and not that non-Christian men are all
Christian
out.
men golf.
Yeah, no, I'm saying not that. So you have these Christian men that are like, hey, the Bible is what we're following, and these are the rules for life, and this is what Christ has told us to be. Hey, how you like my Tiger Woods hat?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. In that.
Why? Because he's still good.
Yeah, and the same thing.
I don't know. I really don't know. Is he still playing?
He hasn't played real quick.
You know less about golf than I do football, man.
Yeah.
Let's just say that, and that whole scandal in and of itself, and what people are willing.
Right.
It's fascinating what people are willing to forgive. Now, I'm not. Of course, we should forgive.
Right.
But I think the way in which we go about it, and the way we manipulate it, and the way we use it.
Right. I think forgiveness and ignoring the problem. I think a lot of times people conflate that.
Forgiveness and participation.
Right. So it's like,
as in,
it's
like
saying,
if you forgive me, you will still let me play.
right. Yeah. So say like, I can forgive you and you cannot play in the NFL, and I have no hard feelings toward you or whatever. But they're like, no, that's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is letting me go about my life as if it never happened.
Right.
Like,
Forgiveness.
that's not forgiveness at all.
Forgiveness.
Like, what are you talking about?
Forgiveness doesn't negate consequences.
Right. Exactly. Like, yeah.
So then here's the question: are these guys and girls responsible as public figures,
right? Because this is where we're
to live above reproach because they happen to be good at something, and because they live in a society in which they're groomed and they're spotted and they are recruited
so it's like
as a machine to make money.
So it's like, are you a role model whether you like it or not?
Yeah, and are they responsible? Because when they sign, they get drafted or whatever.
Right.
They don't go. They kind of go, hey man, and you have the Spurs. The Spurs, the way they pick guys, the way they look. A lot of teams like this. It's like, hey, I don't care. I don't care just about their talent, but their character is important on and off the court. You have that whole Matt Barnes and what's it called? Derek Fisher scan thing going. They're driving each other out and beat each other and whatever. And you kind of go, Charles Barkley's like, I'm not a role model.
right.
And then he has this, he's famous for like, I'm not your friend, right? I'm your dad kind of to his kids. And he's kind of saying, he's going, no, that's not on me.
Right.
And so is it on them or is it on the population to sit there with their kid on Sunday and go, hey, this is an awesome thing, but like, stop. But because here's the deal. What do parents do?
I think it's both. I think if you're going to agree, and this is not for everybody in all sports. This is for the ones that you're going to be highly visible and all that. Like you can't. Again, we'll go back to LeBron. LeBron can't sign a however many $1 million dollar deal with Sprite, and then turn around and I don't know how to say it. Like just again, go like cheat on his wife, whatever. Like he can't do that. Not to say that that's not possible, and it's not that that's not human. But you've agreed to put your face out there and attach it to something. And I don't mean just a product, but you've agreed to put your face out there, and we will, whether we should or not, people will look up to him. So he has to act with a certain amount of responsibility because he's agreed to put himself in the public light.
Or should we say?
Or no, so he's like, he has to, maybe this way, he has to expect that his actions will influence people, right? He has to expect that. On the other side, though, we need to say, look, we can't put our entire moral identity in LeBron James. Like, that's a ridiculous thing to do.
Who's the problem, though? Because you're right.
The problem is the overdetermination of it, right? So it's like, we have come to say, as soon as they will be my model for acting, and let's be honest, merely because they have millions of dollars.
And
There's
they
no
get-
other evidence for why we should act like them other than they have millions of dollars, and we have agreed that millions of dollars means your life is better.
I think-
right?
yeah,
So
so
it's like, so we need to say, look, we can understand. He needs to understand that his actions have consequences in the public, right? And that's fine. That's going to be a natural thing. Anybody, it doesn't matter if it's teachers, if whoever it is, their actions have consequences and influence. But we need to say we can't put our entire moral identity in that one person or in that one team or in that one situation.
I would see, I would agree, and I would see it this way. I think not recognizing the influence you have as a public figure is denial.
Right. Yeah.
Like this, like I see it in this way, where he's like basically Charles Barkley is saying, like, I didn't ask to be a role model. Like I didn't sign up for that.
It's like being mad that the paparazzi's all over you. Like,
Yeah,
a
I
little
don't. And you're too invasive. You're like, but you chose to get up
Right.
and sing in front of millions.
So to me, it's like if Charles Barkley says, "I'm not a role model," it's like, well, then don't be on TV anymore.
Right. It's so
Okay.
it's like
So give up the millions of dollars, give up the stuff you get. It's like,
Walk
but you don't
away.
want to because you like that. So accept the consequences. For
Okay,
that.
so what you're
So,
saying,
sorry,
Kyle,
keep
let me
going.
ask you this:
Yeah.
and what Keith is saying is you have to understand, you have to expect that that's what comes with it.
Right.
But hold on, we don't teach that. We don't teach that as a whole.
Right.
Not out there and not in the home, because what do parents do? They get there early, sign his ball. The dad's more
Right.
excited than the kid is, and the kid is looking at the dad, and so it's this
Right.
vicious cycle.
Right.
So again, can we expect these guys who've been groomed and shaped inside of a narrative that says, wait, no, like that's the value.
Right.
You're telling me to reject the value that you're telling me to have.
Wait. So you're suggesting that we?
I'm not
don't-
saying that they shouldn't, but
We're saying we don't train people to like when you're a public figure, your words and actions have influence. You're saying we don't think that?
I think that this story over here is constantly saying we'll forgive anything.
Oh, I see
and
what
this
you're
is
saying.
so
Yeah, okay,
important.
I see what you're saying. Yes,
That
yes,
yeah,
I agree with you.
But also that you're expecting the same. So we're sitting here
Yeah.
going, how can you not see this, LeBron? And he goes, the same way you wouldn't see it if you were in my shoes.
Right. No, I agree with you. I think we as a society we've set them up to fail, essentially.
Yeah.
We've set them up to
and then
fail.
what we do is
Right.
we all sit around a table and we talk about them,
Right.
and then we go back and we
Right.
celebrate them.
Don't
And
you-
so you go, what?
Okay, so here's a little, this is sort of a separate point, but do you think there's some like sort of inner desire to set someone up just to fail? Like we want to, like, so we're setting them up to be like pillars, to be gods, and they're like, we want to see you
So
fall.
shout out to one of my favorite podcasts, Hidden Brain. I think it's Hidden Brain, in which they talk about that society subconsciously, they won't admit this, but we actually love watching people in power fail.
Right.
There's like this, I don't know, what is it? Is it the term Machiavellianism?
Machiavellian. It's
Kind of
Well,
concept of inside of us. We get excited. So they did all this research about how we actually
we love to see people fail.
we love to see like our celebrities, our gods
Right.
almost fail. It's like this weird need of controlling what we desire to have.
Don't you think there's a tipping point though too? Because there's a point like where we love to see a person either redeem themselves or come from the bottom to like. There's a moment where like we don't want to see them fail, because if they fail too early, then they don't get to the pinnacle. But it's once they get to the pinnacle, then we're like, all right, now we want to see you fail because we want to like.
Well, because we're also jealous of them.
Right,
As
that's what I'm saying,
a
like-
whole.
So I guess partly that's why
Yeah.
Joe Mixon gets to get drafted, because he hasn't been successful enough for us to revel in his failure.
interesting.
So it's like as soon as if he does this again in 3 years when he's at the height of the league, then we're gonna crucify him.
Right.
We're like that's it, you're done. And we're gonna point to this event in 2015. We're gonna say it started there, and he's gonna look at us and be like, you guys forgave that.
Yeah.
Like what happened? Like,
yeah.
but
Like,
now,
but not really.
4 years, like
Yeah.
4 years later, 5 years later, now it's a problem. Like what happened? Because he wasn't at the point where it's like now I want him to fail because he's too good.
Well, because it's a bigger story.
Right,
It's
exactly.
a bigger story, and
But it's to that point where it's not. We don't want to see our heroes fail. We want to see our gods fail. You know what I mean?
okay.
And so that's why this is talking about how we expect a certain character, yet we love the ridiculous. Take a look at Richard Sherman. About everybody talks about all he does is talk and just yells and all that. Hey, there's the cameras every week. Just hey,
and there's you watching it.
And they're like, and they're like, say something crazy, like, and we're all sitting on the TV going, say something crazy. Like,
Well, think about the famous, your favorite basketball player of all time, right? Allen Iverson.
That's right.
Everyone threw a fit. He's like, I'm supposed to be at practice. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of sitting there. He's like, this is kind of a joke. Like, this is ridiculous, and we're over here. Who does that guy think he is?
Or that's the Marshawn Lynch, where he just wouldn't talk to the press, and we're like, he has an obligation to talk to us, and we're like,
he
doesn't.
Yeah, what is his eye? I just don't want to get fined.
Yeah, it's just
right. Is that the famous?
Yeah, so it's the most
I'm here so I won't get fined.
So those guys that when they point out the ridiculousness of the system, we get super pissed. Because we don't want to know that. Like, stop reminding us that this is pointless.
Exactly.
So when Iverson's like, it's just practice, we're like, no, don't tell us that, because it needs to be important.
It was like making Bo Jackson practice. He didn't need to. He walked onto the field and he was the best.
Right.
And he goes, this is silly, you guys. You're asking me to do practice multiplication for the test. I could pass the test.
Right.
This is insane. And what it is, and to bring him up again, Kanye goes, you all think I'm crazy because you can't control me.
Right.
And so it's this weird thing is I'm not in their control anymore, and so there's something wrong with him.
Right.
And so all these guys are going, next question. And they're going,
This is something we're going to talk about later in a future episode, but it's the stand-up comedian where that's a whole different dynamic. But like, they're pointing out the follies of the system, but we like the comedian to do it because it's funny. We don't want the athlete to do it because like, that's not your job. Your job isn't to point out how ridiculous the thing we're paying you to do is.
Yeah, like it's the what is it? Make me a bicycle clown. You're like, hey man, I need you to do this for me because I've made this.
Right.
Important. No, was it Noam Chomsky? He has this spin. He goes, think about millions of people every Sunday watch football, and he goes, football's not important.
Yeah.
It's not important.
No.
Right.
It's not important when it comes to world issues.
Right.
When it comes to human issues, and that's I think what I'm asking is how can we say you should be, after everything we've said, we've made them gods.
Right.
We made them above the law. And how can then we sit here and it's because I think we're bored, we're jealous, we're conditioned to go, that's what's important.
Well, the funny thing too is like with Marshawn Lynch, so we pay you this money to be a football player, and so he goes, great, I'll just play football. And they're like, no, we want to interview you, and he's like, no. Like, and so he's like, and so we're like,
how much?
we want you to play football. And he's like, okay. And they're like, so what do you think about that? He's like, I just want to play football.
Yeah.
And they're like, he's like literally that's what. And so we go, oh, Marshawn Lynch is a jerk. But we're like, but he is literally saying that, and so he ended up doing an interview with Deion Sanders. And Deion Sanders was like, "Yo, so why are you like this?" And he was like, "I just don't like talking. I just like playing." He's everybody.
The irony of him talking to Deion Sanders is amazing.
I know, it's awesome. but basically, it's like everybody's pointing out that like I'm such a bad guy because all I want to do is play football.
Yeah.
And that's like literally what my contract is for.
Yeah. Deion Sanders was like, I don't understand. What do you mean? Like,
and
you're not a show. Like, what? You don't like to show off? He's like, no,
and
it's
so,
full play.
And so, and so, hey, nobody. This is kind of nobody would know anything about Marshawn Lynch's character if we didn't bother him so much.
Well, and the reality is, like, have you ever seen him? He went on. I think it was him and Gronkowski went on and played like Mortal Kombat on Conan.
Yeah,
and he was great.
Yeah,
he was so funny and he was so personable, and it's just like, look, you don't know these people at all. Like, you have no idea who these... And to your point, it's like, the more you bother them, the more they're going to give you a certain persona, and that's not who they are.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that we have to be real about we have to be real also about like the questions that athletes get asked.
Oh, I know.
That they just don't want to. They're like it all happened because he was playing the Super Bowl, and like the questions were like, so what do you think you need to do to win? and so,
Run-
but if
run
you
the
see
ball
like,
fast.
score, like question after
Right.
question, we see like in sports interviews tend to theme around things like that, and so they lose.
What
Like,
went
so
wrong?
Like, so what do you think happened tonight? And so he is just a guy that is pointing out what is obvious if you stop and think about it. That like, I don't want to do this.
It's kind of like what we would have won if,
Yeah.
and then you go, if we would have scored more points.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Or
breaks
like,
down to that.
like,
It's
oh, you fumbled. Tell me about it.
yeah.
Like, well, I had
think
the ball.
I was talking
and
to,
then I didn't have the ball.
I was talking to my brother the other day, and he brought up back in high school. They would sit, and they'd go surf, and there's a couple buddies, and one of their buddies would be like, "Dude," he's like, "it would be perfect if it was just like offshore and like 6 foot." And his buddy goes, "And we were in Bali, and there's palm trees, and it was like, it's like we would have won if we won.
Yeah.
we would have won if we scored more points, and
Yeah.
it's not this like if that point in time, and I was thinking as you're saying this about Marshall Lynch, and you said something about we want to know. So there's this odd thing in us with people who have power, position, a stage, a platform, right? Whatever you want to say, they're famous. Why do we think we want to know them and hang out with them? Because they're good at what they do?
I think this is why. Because, and this actually goes back to why we like to see them fail too, is because we want to know that they're human, because we want to know that we want to know that we could be them.
Oh, how about this?
Because not because we know we will be them, but because we want to know that it's a possibility that I could be Marshawn Lynch.
Okay, so
they're
Or
not,
at least like run in the same circle.
right. So it's like I desire the power he has. So I want to see two things: either he's like me, so I can be like, oh well, I could have been him. I'm not, but I could have been him. Or if he's not like me, I want to see him fail because I don't want him to have the power anymore.
So here's what I was thinking when you were talking about that, because I think it's very bizarre, that Justin Bieber could say hi to a girl and she could faint. That's there's a problem there, right? Or as an example, is we make them our gods, right? And so we want to know God, right? This is getting really, we want to know God, but then in our fallenness, in our envious jealousy, we also want to be God, right? And
Yep,
so
it's exactly right. No, that's right. Yeah, so I think that's why we want to know who he is, because we want to say like we are really just like him. But if he's not going to be like us, which let's be honest, they're not, because there's no way I could ever be Marshawn Lynch.
Because we never actually,
So I want him to fail.
just
I want to find the flaw.
we never actually just love them for who they are.
Yeah, so it's like it's the one of them. It's a really cheesy movie, but 300, and even though every one of the whatever Spartans die, the whole goal of King Leonidas was he basically saying like I didn't need to defeat the god, because the Persian king had called him a god, called himself God. He's like I didn't need to defeat him. I just needed to show that he could bleed. So it's like, because that's going to defeat his power. If I can show he'll bleed, then no one's going to believe in his power anymore. So it's like you have to test. Like that's what I think we want to be able to. We're testing to see if our celebrities can bleed.
Yeah, and there's like this deeper subconscious thing,
Right?
we
Because
all want to be gods.
because we want to. We're putting our faith. Let's even say we're putting our faith in them. And if they are shown to fail, then we've put our faith in the false god.
But we've also said in the same breath, like, I am God.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, of course, right.
In this weird kind of
right. It's just like we can't think about it too much, and this is going back to Allen Iverson thing. We can't think about it too much, because the moment we really fully analyze what we're doing, we realize it's all fake, right? And so, like, especially when we talk, because they're really just humans.
Yes.
They're just people, and as soon as we realize that, then it's like, well, the whole system crumbles, right? There has to be a certain amount of scaffolding that we will not think about, and it's what a really well known in the like anthropology and sociology of religion, Peter L. Berger said, it's bad faith. That's the bad faith, saying like there isn't a choice, or like we've always done it this way, or that's the way it is, even though it's not. We have to construct this thing where we don't want to think about it, because if we think about it, we would really have to deconstruct it and reconstruct a new system.
Yeah.
God or athlete.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Hey everyone, Vince venture into the pop culture cosmos today, where you'll hear our conversations on different topics within the world of movies, TV, video games, comic books, technology, board gaming, and more. You'll also get a taste of some of our other shows within the cosmos as well. So come on and join us each week as we delve into the pop culture cosmos.
Welcome to the Pop Culture Cosmos.
We hope you do listen to us and follow us on all of the social medias. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, like Humanican Media, follow them. And our Twitter handle is
at WAT_podcast.
and then Humanica Media.
Yeah, just Humanica, just at Humanica Media. That's
All right, and we'd love to hear your comments, your feedback, anything like that. Follow us, give us a shout out, respond to us.
Let us know what you want to hear.
Yeah, let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you think about this episode. We want to know everybody's feedback, wherever that takes place. Wherever you find us, let us know what you think.
That to us people that can feel things, it hurts.